So good day everyone. So today we talk about animation concept. So nag-loading pa. Wait lang sa taga So animation concept. So today we talk about the history of animation which involved the invention and its tools and animation studio and also the type of animation, the techniques and the traditional process in making started. So before that, we have learning objectives. So at the end of this discussion, the student able to know the history of animation. The second, identify the different types, techniques, and process of animation, and also able to apply the different techniques of animation. So first, we're gonna ask what is animation. So by definition, animation is the process of bringing illustration or inanimate object to life through motion pictures. So animation techniques manipulate photos and drawing to give the illusion of movements and present a narrative to viewers on the screen. So some early Grecian pottery is the early form of animation, so depicting the scenes of movements and expression along its surface, like the comic strip. So as you observe the this picture is this is a form of animation before nga pottery siya man siyang the Grecian pottery nga inanimate scene mo ni ang ilang form before, no? So we go down to the history of animation. So the history of animation. So the history of animation dates back to the ancient world, though from the pottery of ancient Greek to the ocular toys of the 17th century to the computer generated imagery, or what we call SGI. So of the 21st century, animation by existed in many forms, evolving into technological fit we see today. So this history of animation extend far beyond history of film, as early animator throughout the century found ways found ways to create movies without cameras or recording technology. So before Oscar-winning SGI Hollywood blockbuster like Pixar Toy Story 3 2010 and the Academy Award winners like Finding Nemo 2003, there was the first animated sequence captured on standard picture film by James Stewart Blackstone, The Enchanted Drawing 1900s, which used a live action actor props and stop motion techniques to create a 2-minute comedic scene. So animation continued to evolve throughout the decade with the French cartoonist Emile Coup 2-minute stick figure animation. So what this is the Phantasmagorie 1908 became one of the first cartoons. So moved in 1914 when Sir Mackay Gertie the Dinosaur broke new ground in the animation industry as the first animated film to use the technique like keyframing, in-betweeners, and animation loops, which laid the foundation for standard and industry practice for further animation production. So later on, Walt Disney short film Steamboat Willie 1928 marked the first time in animated film which was fully scored, popularizing Mickey Mouse and the use of sounds in animated film going forward. So I have here. So this is the example of one enchanted drawing 1900s, which is mo na siya ang the use of live action, actor props, and stop motion techniques to create a 2-minute comedic scenes. No? And the second is the Phantasmagorie, which is this beca- this become one of the first cartoon in 1908. So let's move to the sixth example of early animation devices, which nabilong pa na siya sa history of animation. So we have here the first early animation device. We have the magic lantern. So six example of early animation devices. So throughout history, there have been numerous devices and toys capable of depicting active scenes of animated cartoons, characters, people, object, and events. So we have here the first magic lantern. So the magic lantern was an image projection device developed in 1903. So this device used a mirror in the back of light source, which is originally ang ginayuse yun ni ang candle to reflect a light, no? That would be direct the light through a long glass slides projecting the slide illustrations. So mao ni siya as you see in the picture na siya reflection of light para mo create siya og kuan animation. Then the second is Tumatrope, which is the was the 19th century optical toy that featured a picture disc held by two string. When the string was, they would spin the disc, moving image on either side of the disc into one by the persistent of vision. So an optical illusion that tricks the eye into seeing movements long after the movement has stopped. So, na ko video dire na related. So, observe lang. Mao na siya ang Tumatrope. Spin mo siya, mag-create siya og animation. Na siya illusions. Mura siya move. Kung imo siyang ituyok. Sir. And that's it. That's the Tumatrope. So let's proceed to the third one.
The phenakist.
We have here the phenakistoscope, so known as a phantascope and sometimes spelled phenakistoscope. So the phenakistoscope debuted around 1933 featuring spinning painted cardboard discs reflected in a mirrors which created the illusion of movement. So observe lang gihapon. Ano siya ang phenakistoscope.
Phenakistoscope was the first device to demonstrate the illusion of animation. Invented by Belgian physicist Joseph Plateau in 1832, the phenakistoscope was so revolutionary that it was seen by some as witchcraft. A slitted disc with sequential images mounted on a handle. Spin the disc, and nothing unexpected happened. But if the spinning disc is viewed in a mirror, the images burst into life. Viewing the disc's reflection through its slits breaks up the blur of color into a series of sequential images, creating the illusion of motion. This replica includes the 12 original discs manufactured by Plateau, housed in a nice box set with a solid hardwood and brass handle. Come experience the magic and take home something ancient at Ancient Magic Toys.
So, mao ni siya ang phenakistoscope. So, without the use of katong mirror, dili ka maklaro sa illusion niya. Dapat magamit ka para makita gid nimo ang illusion. Maglihok gid siya ba? So, the fourth one is the zoetrope. So, the zoetrope was a spinning cylindrical version that presented image in sequential pieces of motion that multiple viewers could watch at a time. The cylindrical contains several vertical slits which provide a mechanism for the eye to keep the spinning photograph from blurring together while in motion. So observe gapon mo si ang zoetrope. Zoetrope. So, makita gini mo ang illusion na once tuyo ka nimo ang kuan, kita gini mo. So, mo na siya ang zoetrope. So, let's move to the second to the last. So, we have here
The praxinoscope in
the kinetograph. So, this word is a Latin word meaning the moving picture. So, and also known as the flip book, debuted in 1968. So, kinetograph is a small book of drawing which each page conveying the different form of movement so that when the page are flipped quickly in sequence, they animated in a scene. So, kung ano tani, naka-familiar na tayo yung flip book, tas nakabuhat na sa daan if itong way back senior high school. no? If i-flip nimo ma-create gid siya og illusion or na siya murag mo-move siya gid ba, or movie move. Then we have here the last devices in early animation, the praxinoscope. So way back in 1977, the praxinoscope succeeded the zoetrope, replacing the latter's narrow vertical slit switch with an inner circle of angle mirror instead. So these angle mirror help provide a clearer and more vivid animation than peering at the moving illusion through slit. So this this device is the same with zoetrope, which is ang the difference lang ano niya, ang ma-create na i-mirror sa center to create the illusion, no? Ang geotrope kay kung ano man to murag light ra, no? Light pero same ra na siya, naka difference lang na i-mirror mga kuan. So i-observe lang nato ni para maka understand kita more, no?
Invented in 1877, was the successor to the zoetrope. The praxinoscope replaces the zoetrope slits with angled mirrors placed in the center of the drum. Viewing the spinning animation reflecting off these circularly arranged mirrors breaks up the blur of color into an animation sequence. Viewing the images off mirrors rather than through small slits provided a brighter, clearer animation, which was especially important before the advent of the electric light bulb. This fine praxinoscope replica is handcrafted with solid wood.
So mao to siya ang praxinoscope. So we have down at sa the first animated film. So the first animated film, Emil Reynolds' Whoever Payet wrote, 1892, was created by using longer image roll for the praxinoscope, allowing for a longer viewing time. Whoever Payet wrote is often created as the first animated film because Reynolds' picture roll was painted with 500 individual images rather than using photograph. However, film historians argue that Emil Phantasmagory 1908 is the first instance of a film produced with the traditional animation techniques, making it the first true animated movies. So, moreover, some consider British-American producer J. Stuart Blackstone numerous pieces of Funny Faces 1906 to be the animation industry first film. So Blackstone used a stop motion animation to depict a series of animated character changing movements throughout the 3 minutes movie. So numerous Faces of Funny Faces was the first animated film recorded on a standard picture film, technically making it the first animated movie captured in the real film. So, in addition po, si James Stuart Blackstone, mo na siya ang one of the father of American animation because nag-create man siya og first animation in America and was one of the first use of the stop motion techniques, no? So down na ta sa the different types of animation. So we have here the different type of animation. First is the traditional animation, 2D animation or what we call the vector base, no? Then the 3D animation, the forward motion graphics, and and the last is the stop motion. So we're gonna talk first the traditional animation. So as you observed, so traditional animation is one of the oldest form of animation and film. So it's sometimes called cell animation. So as mentioned above, in the traditional animation, objects are drawn in celluloid transparent paper. So in order to create the animated sequence, the animator must draw every frame. So it's the same mechanism as the flipbook. No, same na siya sa flipbook nga mag-create sig animation if imo siyang i-flip nga ang kuan every pages to create animation. So just an a grinder skill. So addition pod traditional is the most often 2D animation. So ang traditional animation matawag sa din na to og 2D animation, which means like the Aladdin movie, the Lion King, and the other early cartoons are the best example of this. Though not all 2D, no, dili lang 2D is traditional, but may buwan ta na to later as we go on to the discussion. So in early years, no, in early years, the animator would draw on a table that had a light inside of it, so the creator could see his or her previous animation. So while the traditional style is not early as prevalent today, drawing are generally done on tablets. So and manual coloring hasn't been used by Disney since The Little Mermaid in 1989. So na video diri nga related sa dani nga mao na siya ang video nga nag-explain how animator Aaron Blaze create traditional which gihan draw niya no sa observe lang ta para masabtan sad no traditional animation
more hand-drawn animation. I've done a few more drawings since
no as you
yesterday,
observe mo na siya
and
ang
you can
flip
see if you remember from yesterday, I
flip
was
niya
doing
para
this cat
mag-create
where
siya
he's
animation ba
kind of lifting his head and he's kind of angry and looking forward. Well,
Pag
I'm
nag-move
continuing
siya
the
once
shot,
i-flip mo ang
and in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, there's something off screen that's going to catch his attention. There's a sound or whatever, and it surprises him. So I've done this other drawing where he looks over, kind of surprised. Huh? Huh? Like so. And so what I was going to do is I'm going to show you what I'd like to talk about today is doing, drag and stretches or wipes, that sort of thing, and show you what you can actually get away with in animation. So I'm going to go ahead and do something really.
ato lang i-forward kay
So
same
I'm
ra
going
na
to do
siya
this.
same ra na siya then
I'm going to hit these
So-
shoulder blades real. Is going to drag a little bit more. Now, granted, this is in this animation. This is kind of our world. It's a real reality.
okay that's it that's the first types of animation. So the second one
You have
is the
business?
2D or the Victor. So 2D animation can fall under traditional animation like most early Disney movies like Pinocchio, The Beauty and the Beast, and others. But there is something called Victor-based animation that can be 2D without being traditional. So with Victor-based, the motion here can be controlled by Victor rather than pixels. So, sige ba't pasabutan niya? So, if mingon kita ang mga image with familiar format like kanang JPEG, GIF, BMP, or mo na siya ang mga pixels image. So, this image cannot be enlarged or shrunk without affecting image's quality. So vector graphic don't need to worry about resolution because vector are the characterized by pathway with various start and endpoints, line connecting the points to build the graphic. So mo na siya. Then vector-based animation uses mathematical value to resize image. So motion is smooth. They can reuse this creation so the animator doesn't need to keep drawing the same character over and over again. Then you can move around this vector, then animate that way. So this is also helpful for animator who aren't the best drawer. So yes, these people exist today. Then we have here the movie, which is this is one of the example of Victor style. Observe lang yapon.
Business owner thinking of expanding your business worldwide? Where do you start? Let's say you decided you want to set up shop in France and give your French customers some personal attention. You might have to open an office, employ a few customer service personnel, get a local phone number. Then comes the electricity bills, taxes. Oh, don't worry. Wow Call gives you your very own number in France and takes care of forwarding it to you. Within minutes, you can have a number and forward it to your existing office with a few clicks. Or if you want to be extra creative, you can forward the number through the internet and save on all forwarding charges. Download one of our impressive mobile apps and receive it on your mobile. Now your French customers can reach you and enjoy your wonderful services and feel loved. And you don't even have to leave your home. Now, where would we go next? Maybe Spain, Australia perhaps, Italy, maybe Hong Kong. That sounds good, doesn't it, huh? Maybe it is time you take your business worldwide. One step at a time, though. Don't get carried away. Wow Call.
So that's
Reach
it,
the
the
world.
2D animation, the Victor style. So we moved to the third types of animation, which is the 3D. So today, 3D or computer animation is the most common type, but just because of computer have stepped in instead of actual drawings, it's not necessarily easier. The computer is just another tool, and 3D animation is still a long and intense process. So, in 3D animated movies, the animator use a program to move the character body part around. So, they set their digital frames when all of the part of the character are in the right position. They do this for each frame. So and the computer calculates the motion from each frame. So in addition, animators adjust and tweak the curvatures and movement their character make throughout. So from Toy Story in 1995 to today's to gitawag na tong movie katong Coco, no? 3D animator has become the dominant style in animated film. 3D animation is also unique in that unlike 2D or other traditional methods. So, in 2D, ang character ano niya, if the entire body is always visible, the character turns to the side. The animator only need to draw the side profile into the animation. But in 3D, the entire body still need to be visible. So again, even though computer are being used with the new technology, came way more consideration. So I have here the top 10 3D animator movie. So take na siya 7 minutes. So observe lang. Short clip lang na siya.
What on earth is that?
Seems to be emanating from there, sir.
Olo?
It's hello.
Oh. Hello? Like that?
You can scream all you wish, Miss Ritchie. I'm afraid no one can hear you. What? Why isn't she screaming?
Miss Ritchie, if you don't mind.
Like this. Ah! But that's a poor lady scream.
He's a little better.
So, word na to gamay.
No.
So, these are the example of 3D animation. Just some example. So, move the sa second to the last part, second to the last type of animation. We have here the motion graphics. So, motion graphics are pieces digital graphic that create the illusion of motion, usually for ads or advertisement. Title sequences in films, but ultimately exist to communicate something to the viewer. So they often combined with sound for multimedia project. So they they are a type of animation used mostly in business, usually with text as a main player. Below are a few examples of motion graphics animation using the top trend of the day. So this is way back 2018 top trends. So, the motion graphics. ano siyang example of motion graphics. So you're down to the last type of animation, which is the stop motion. So stop motion encompasses clay motion, pixelation, object motion, cutout animation, and more. But the basic mechanics are similar to the traditional style like flipbook. However, instead of drawing, stop motion of adjust physical object in each frame. So if move in small increments, captured one frame at a time, the illusion of motion is produced. Whether puppet, clays, or even real people, this manual adjustment can make it a long, arduous process. Example na niya katong the Wallis and the Groom Meet, the Chicken Run, and the Nightmare Before Christmas are all great example of stop motion film. So definitely stop motion is an older form of animated storytelling, no? Especially compared to 2D computer animation. But the process of animating picture date back way before Disney or the Pixar movie. So, one is siyang example sa movie, no? Na tong The Curse of the Were Rabbit. So, further na to na
No nonsense
take
with Victor
shift
Quartermain.
limbs.
Of 120.
So, mao na siya. So we are now done of the types of animation. Let's proceed to the animation techniques. So first, we have the drone animation. So this cover any form where one drawing is replaced by another in a sequence. So each drawing is slightly different from the one before. It works the way a film flipbook does. So these animated film are made up of thousand drawings which are shown in the screen very quickly one after another. It takes a very long time to film from start to finish and require many animator to complete the work. So dugay gid siya kay drone raman siya ay drawing raman siya. Then we have here the second techniques is the cut out animation. So this covers any form of animation where cutout shape or move around or replaced by other cutout. So flat object like buttons, matchsticks, and string can also be used in this form of animation. Cutouts can also be one of the top drawing. It is a very quick and easy to do but difficult to have more than one or two objects moving at the same time. Cutout animation can appear very stiff and awkward. So that's it. The second techniques of animation. So the third one is the computer animation or the computer generated imagery. So this refer to the drawing of three-dimension model and set on the computer. So images can be scanned into the computer using digital photography or made within the computer itself. So human character can be built from clay, wheels, and furnishing are modeled using design systems similar to the architect's drawing. So these models are scanned into the computer as a frame model, which are which are gradually built up into a colored and texture form. So the last one is the model or stop motion animation. So this involves the filming of three-dimensional models. So the material used could include the plasticine, clay, or wire, in fact anything that could be bent or formed into another shape. So the puppet are positioned and filmed before being moved over so slightly and filmed again. So these shots are put together as a piece of film and will give the impression of the models moving. So moreover, models can be used over and over again and copies made of them to shot different scenes at the same time so that the filming take less time. This type of animation needs a lot of time and a hard work. So that's it, the four animation techniques, which is the drone animation, the cutout animation, the computer animation or the SGI, and the model or stop motion animation. So we are now down the the traditional process in making animation. So this is the last part of discussion. So I have here the seven traditional animation process. The first one is the storyboard, voice recording, animat animatic stage, design and timing, the layout, animation, and the background. So the first one is the storyboard. So the storyboarding process was originally developed at Walt Disney Production in early 1930s, and it's usually the first step in making traditional animation. A storyboard is a collection of hand drawing and word that tell a story, similar to large comic strip. So the drawing are displayed in a certain sequence so the viewer can pre-visualize the animation. So definitely, so storyboard is the process pod na the process is often repeated many times before reaching the final desired outcome. It helps the animation or animator to set plan for the animation plot and define the composition of the image. So the second one is the voice recording. So a preparatory soundtrack is often recorded before true animation begins so that the animation can more accurately synchronize to the soundtrack. So this is due to the slow systematic way in which traditional animation is produced. So it is almost always easier to synchronize the animation to an existing soundtrack than it is to synchronize a soundtrack to an existing animation. So as you observe na image no sa left right side, no? So a full soundtrack will contain music, sound effect, and dialogue performed by a voice actor. So the sketch track used during animation, however, normally contains just a voices, the vocal song to which character sing along. No? Then kani nga picture nag-indicate na siyang mo na siya ang katong gi-voice out ganin nila aw gi murag sila ang nagda og kuan sa tingog ni Mickey Mouse ba sila ang duha, no? Then we have here the next one is the animatic stage. So animatic stage after the soundtrack. So man na naka-create sa soundtrack then animatic or a story reel is made to determine the overall effectiveness of the animation before finalizing things. An animatic is usually a sequence of image or sketches in the form of storyboard arranged with the soundtrack and produced right before the full animation begins. So this stage help animator and director to definite identify any script or timing issue that could exist with the produced storyboard and fix them as needed. So, in addition, animatic stage, this is the process could result in creating new version of either the storyboard or the soundtrack or both and creating a new animatic for review until everything is perfect to the desired extent. This could prevent animating scenes that could be edited out of the film, avoiding the potential loss in time and money. So the fourth one is the design and timing. So when the animator and the director decide on a certain animatic, they send it along with approved storyboard to the design department. So the character designer can prepare more model sheet for different character and object in the animation. This model sheet show designer how different angles with a variety of poses and expression so that all artists working on the project can deliver in the same output. So at the same time the timing director, who is usually the main director, takes the final animatic and analyze what poses, drawing, and lip movement will be needed in what frames. So he creates what called tawag na to og exposure sheet. So which means that printed table that breaks down the action, dialogue, and sound frame by frame as a guide for the animator. So if a film relies heavily on music, a bar sheet may be prepared in additional to or instead of an X sheet. So bar sheet show the relationship between on-screen action, so the dialogue and actual musical notation used in the score. Then we have the fifth one, which is this is part in the traditional process in animation. the layout. So after the design are finished and approved by the director, the layout process came in action. The layout artist determined the camera angle and the lighting of the scene, along with the main poses of the character. The layout, the storyboard, and the audio are finally joined together to form a more final animatic. So that's it, the layout. Then we have here the second to the last, the animation. So the animation stage finally begin after the animatic is approved by the director. The traditional animation process begin by drawing a sequence of animation on a sheet of transparent paper with holes in it to fit the peg bar in their desk. Usually using color pencil, one picture or a frame at a time. A pig bar is an animation tool that is used in traditional animation to keep the drawing in place. It contains pens that match the holes in the paper. So it is attached to the animation disk or light table with whichever is being used. So using a character layout as a guide, a lead or any animator will draw the key drawing in a scene. He draw the necessary frame to define the major points of action. So, for example, ano yun, ano? For example, for the character jumping across a gap, so the animator also may draw the frame where the character is about to leap. A couple of frame as a character is flying mid-air and the frame where the character lands on the other side of the gap. Ano siya. So, in this animation, ang timing is crucial sa danin niya, no? For drawing this frame. Kay imo mag-base man ka kung, kung pananglit pabuhaton ka. So, if you are an animator, if a character will jump para sa gingon ganiya ba? Jump across a gap. So, dapat magkuan siya kanang mo fit sad siya ba kung asa siya mo end sad ba nang naa siya coordination para nindot sad siya tanahon, no? So for example, in a high budget production, loss of effort is given in making sure a speaking character mouth movement matches in a shape the sound that character actor is producing as a character speaks. So lahi sa kayong ang imong ang iyong sitaw ni ang imong audio nga pag-speak sa parang na speak ba tas ang mouth ang movement sa mouth dili mo fit or dili mo coordinate sa sound sa gistorya ba lahi ba murag delay siya dapat bantayan sa na sa animator if you are one of the animator, no, dapat mo fit sa ang kuhan. So animation is this is the process goes for both character and special effect animation, so which are done in a separate department in a high budget production. Effect animator work with anything that moves and it's not a character, including the props, vehicle, machineries, and particles such as fire, rain, and explosion. So sometimes a number of special processes are needed to produce special effect in animated film. Rain, for example, has been created in Disney animated film since the late 1930s by filming slow motion footage of water over the black background. Then we have here the last type, the last process of the digital animation, the background. So the background artists usually work on a painting, the setting over which the animation take place. The background are mostly done in or acrylic paint, but some animation have usually watercolor or oil paint background. So background artists follow very closely the work of the background layout artist and color stylist so that the resulting background are in harmony with the character design. So that's it, the traditional process in making animation. So honestly, yeah. So that would be all for the animation concept. I hope you learned something from today's discussion. So that's it. Thank you.